Having money, craving, started shoebox saving, made some puzzle placements. I know what this life gon' come with, know that they gon' go and hate it. When you make it, they gon'
Welcome back to
switch and say
Nationwide
they
Sports Talk.
love
I'm
you
Matt
and
Mackey, live
replacement.
from
This
West
shit is just
Virginia. Wild
dedication, no
and
success,
wonderful,
no
y'all.
patience. I
Welcome
see
back to
the
another great
purpose,
week of
sleep
Nationwide. We have a
perpetuating.
nice,
I push through
fulfilled,
my foundation,
long
I take my
episode
life and I take
breaking
away
down
without
college basketball, the
hesitation.
best
Get
games to look forward to
started
this
with first
upcoming week.
dying young,
Talking about
hope
the
it don't
NBA
come and
All-Star
save us.
rosters, who
And
got
when it's all
snubbed.
said
A
and
lot of
done,
people are
where we
talking
gonna
about that for sure.
go?
Then we're going to give you our top 5 best college ball running backs of all time. That's what we're doing in episode 108. But before we even start any of it, I mean, just a little bit, I got to introduce you the co-host, live from Morgantown. Caleb, say what's up.
What's going on, guys? Thank you guys for coming back for another week, episode 108. We have a lot to talk about, like Mackie said. So let's go ahead and jump right into it.
So we're going to backtrack all the way to last Saturday, and that's where we left off on is the best games of the week. Giving off you all the best games of the week for this week. We asked the week too many times. That's weird, but okay, we're fine with that one. But we're back to Saturday. So we talked about a lot of the best games on Saturday, but there's a lot of games we didn't talk about that I kind of wish we did after seeing the end result. So I'm just going to start with this one. How about Alabama having a close game to Vanderbilt? At one point in time, it was neck and neck the whole entire way. Vanderbilt got a lead. Vanderbilt's the last team in the SEC. Worst team. Alabama's the number 1 team in the SEC. And let's just say it was a high-scoring game, final score being 82-78. But Alabama came out on top. But the crazy thing is that was a 13.5-point spread for Alabama, but they won by 4. Scottie Pippen Jr., man, Vanderbilt, is he good?
Yeah, he's a hell of a player, averaging 20-some points this year. Averaged 12 for them last year. But like you said, this game was very shocking to see a team like Alabama who can score the ball. I would say probably easily go out there and put up 100 points any night they want to. And I mean, they scored. It's not like they didn't score the ball, but defensively they really struggled. And like you said, to the last team in the SEC in Vanderbilt, I think they have a good program being built down there in Vanderbilt, but definitely shouldn't have been this close with Alabama.
I would say it was a good program 3 years ago, and it just kind of fell a little bit. But then last year they were like the worst team in like Power 5. They're 6-12 right now. And what helped in this game against Alabama is they shot 43% from the three-point line. Alabama shot 25%. And let's be real, they shot 39 threes, Caleb. Alabama did, and only made 10. So that was kind of a big differential right there. Plus, they missed 8 free throws. They were 20 for 20 on the free throw line, Alabama was. And overall, it was a fair rebounding game. You know, Vanderbilt's big guys down low helped them out a lot. Turnovers won a big margin right there. Vanderbilt had 15 turnovers to be exact, but they were in within a 4-point loss. So it must have been an off game for Alabama in that game situation, but shooting 25%, going against a team who's shooting 43%, you might want to watch out later on in the road in the tournament.
Yeah, I agree. I think if Alabama wants to make their runs that I think this team's looking forward to later on in the tournament, they definitely got to clean up that shooting and I think have to defend a little bit better.
I like Alabama's team. They're fun to watch because they don't care where they're at on the field. They're going to pull up, perimeter, corner, don't matter. They're pulling up wherever they are. And I love that kind of basketball. It's kind of weird, that's how the games change at 3 points, and that's what Alabama does. And it makes it a more exciting game, especially when you have a team who's shooting so well and producing at least 84 points a game. That makes the game fun to watch. All right, it's going to be a high-scoring game here. And I kind of figured it'd be a high-scoring game, one, because they're playing Vanderbilt. So I had a feeling Alabama was going to put up 80 points either way, but I was not expecting Vanderbilt to put up 78 against an Alabama team.
Me either.
We're staying in the SEC, and we're going to go all the way up state to Tennessee, good old Knoxville. Kentucky, who has been struggling this year, is below 500, goes into number 19, Tennessee, and gets a 15-point win. Give me your thoughts on that, Caleb. It's Kentucky's third one in a row.
Definitely surprised. I mean, surprising this year. I'll say that. It's not surprising for Cal teams to get wins like this, but under the circumstances that this Kentucky Wildcats team has been under this year of just being so young and lacking that veteranship on the floor that a lot of these teams, I would say within the SEC, but a lot of teams within NCAA right now have a lot of veteranship on the floor. Kentucky really doesn't have that. And I think their young guns came out and really showed they're ready to hoop and they're ready to take on this big challenge of trying to get to the next level within college basketball. And I think this is a big step forward, beating I want to say a pretty good Tennessee Volunteers team. I mean, this Tennessee team was ranked top 5 without even playing games, and teams were playing 4 or 5 games and they were still ranked top 5.
It's definitely a good Tennessee team, but it's also a very well-talented Kentucky team. Like, it really is. You look at the recruiting class, they got solid. The players who came back, solid. BJ Boston's a stud. Top 10 pick, they're saying, in the draft. And no one really knew what was going on with that Kentucky team. No one knew, like, what's going on. But I guess Calipari, he, took it in the third gear and said, nah, we're getting our asses out there. We're going to ball out. And it worked. Got that. Plus, it helps when I was watching the game, commentator was saying that Calipari said, I don't care where you are, shoot the ball. Because you're going to have someone down low get the rebound for you. He said, I rely on that rebound game. And it showed that Tennessee game because he had 12 more rebounds than Tennessee. The rebound was there to dish it back out. And getting rebounds will help you win basketball games. Like, you got to rely on a big man down low, even 2 big men down low, or even a little point guard coming down, following a shot like they tell you when you're playing rec league basketball. Follow your shot. You get the rebound, you have another opportunity to score a basket. And that's how you win by 15 points.
I agree. And I mean, I think they defended this Tennessee team as well as they could, too. I mean, again, we say this is a really good Tennessee team. They can shoot the ball. They can spread the floor. And Kentucky was able to shut that down.
Couldn't agree more. Now let's jump all the way to Texas in the Big 12 play. Number 13, W was taking on number 12, Texas at the time. Final score of the game, W 84, Texas 82. At one point in time, W was down by 19 points. And I know you were watching the game, Caleb, because I definitely was. Let's just go with this. When you have a team shooting over 50% from the three-point line, over 70% in the first half, you got to whoa. W was down by 10 points in the first half. That score being 53-43. And Texas came out on a little run, got up to 19 points. And somehow, but I know what it was. It was a little argument on that bench that they had with Ramey and Jones. It changed the momentum, just flipped the trigger, and Ramey fouled out. So that's your best player. He's not playing anymore. That's all we had to worry about. And W quick kicked in the gear. Miles McBride had a good game. But Derek Culver, the core of that W team, was outstanding. So he's really just outstanding.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think, I mean, again, I've talked very highly on this WVU team this year, but this proves, I mean, they're ready for March. I mean, they've been the only team that has been able to put up a fight against Gonzaga this year. I mean, granted, I think the best game that we would have seen this year was Baylor and Gonzaga, and that got postponed. But still, they're the only team that's been able to put up a good fight. And like you said, bouncing back from 19 against a good Texas team, still keeping their spot in the top of that Big 12, very tough conference. And I think, again, this solidifies their spot for top 10. I mean, this team, like you said, with Derek Culver, I mean, he just dominates the paint. And then having McBride just being able to do whatever he wants as well on the perimeter.
You got a great duo in college basketball right there.
I agree. And then having Emmett Matthews playing his role, Sean McNeil's also been able to shoot the ball consistently. I mean, I'm riding high on this WVU team right now. Very high.
I think a lot of people are too. Not just you. Like, a lot of people are finally noticing what they're doing without Oscar Schwiebe. Let's be real. Like, they have played a lot better without him. And especially Derek Culver has played a lot better without him because he now knows it's his sole role. He's not sharing it with nobody else. It's his. And he's appreciative of that, you can tell, and he's getting what he can get when he given an opportunity.
Well, I mean, you allow a 6'10", 255-pound dude, you allow him to dominate both blocks. I mean, here, just do your thing. You know, you're not sharing, like you said, you're not sharing the block with another 6'8", 6'10" dude. Go wherever you want and do your thing. And like you said, he was able to do that with 14 points and 5 rebounds.
Last game we're talking about on Saturday, we're going to jump down to the late game ACC basketball. the number 7 Virginia Cavaliers go into Cameron Indoor and get upset by my Duke Blue Devils. Man, it was great to see. I loved it. I'm like, all right, here we go. Kicking gear from March. And they came out with a victory 66-65, led by Matthew Hurt, the man himself, having 22 points. Did you watch the game at all, Caleb?
I didn't get a chance to watch this one, but I watched a couple highlights, and it looked like a fun game to watch. Looked good.
It was a fun game to watch. It was back and forth the whole entire way. No one really came out like a big victory at all. I mean, at halftime, Duke was up by 3. The biggest of the game was 5 points. So it was never really a long stretch, like a 19-point rally back kind of thing that W did. It was very consistent. Defense was there, and the Duke freshman stepped up, especially Jeremiah Brakefield. He had that go-ahead shot with 1:58 left in the game. Let's go ahead and say that. Go-ahead shot, but with 2 minutes left. Defense was there, and it was as a Duke fan, I saw we were losing beginning of the season. I said, all right, it's fine. Everyone has a down year. Like, I ain't worried about it. But now we're winning. I'll get my hopes up now. I'm ready for March. They're going to make that turn, be a first 4 in.
I could see it. I think Coach K's getting this team back on track down there.
I mean, you could say that. It sucked to see Jalen Johnson opt out for the season. That kind of hurt a little bit. But Coach Boeheim from Syracuse, he literally said, like, it's a good thing for Duke that he opted out because he was hurting the team. He was bringing the team down, that kind of thing. First of all, as a coach, you don't say that about someone else's players. You don't say that at all. But it just shows, like, okay, I'm not the only one seeing that. But Power 5, Hall of Fame coach saying it, he knows something too then. So it's just like, it's pretty much how you say, what's the word? I don't know. It's like you got to go with this for that. That makes sense. That kind of saying.
Yeah, I definitely think this Duke team can build towards a tournament. I'm just not. I mean, they're sitting at 10-8 and 8-6 in conference, so it's not like they've had a terrible year. I think this win definitely helps, but do you think their resumes? You think they have enough quality wins to be able to get in a tournament with this win?
I've seen this is a great quality win for the resume, but I agree. Who are like in the Atlantic 10 be a first 4 in. What does their resume look like? Did they play a top 10 team and beat them?
I mean, true, but
Did you?
I think they're gonna just look at their record and then look at an Atlantic 10 team record and say, well, I understand they go off resume, but I think record's going to play a big part in this. But I do think that Duke really helped solidify themselves as a tournament team with this win. I'll say that.
All right. Now we're going to kick it to Sunday. The game we liked watching and look forward to the most was number 3 Michigan taking number 4 Ohio State. You said Ohio State was going to win. I kind of gained more on Michigan side, and Michigan came out on top on the road in Columbus with a 5-point victory, 92-87. What were your thoughts on that game, Caleb?
Michigan is, I think, as good as everyone has expected them to be. I mean, I took them – I think we both agreed their resume wasn't good enough like Ohio State's, but, I mean, again, they came out and they shot – I think their biggest thing was that pick and roll. I mean, they ran the pick and roll perfectly the entire game, and it was kind of hard to just stop. And I think that was really just the key takeaway of my point is that pick and roll for them is really their go-to, and it's kind of deadly. It's very hard to stop.
Pick and roll is always hard to stop. I don't care what team you are. It's always going to be hard to stop if your team is literally practicing 5 times a week. It's that simple. They say practice makes perfect, and Michigan obviously is practicing and making it perfection. Hunter Dickinson, phenomenal player, 22 points, 9 rebounds in that game against Ohio State. But this is the biggest question I have for like the whole rankings thing. You have a team that hasn't played in 3 weeks, Baylor. How is Michigan not jumping them? You know what I'm saying? Like, how's that not a jump? I mean, yes, Baylor's undefeated, but they haven't played in 3 weeks. And every time they're supposed to play a top 10 team, Oh, we can't play. We got COVID. Protocol. Sorry. Can't play. So how are they still a top 2 team when Michigan's in here 16-1, just beat an Ohio State team, and is not number 2? You see,
I
that makes
think
sense to me.
I think because again, Gonzaga and Baylor have solidified themselves as that much better than everyone else this year.
Well, Caleb, I'm glad you brought that point up because guess what? We talked about that Tuesday night game when Baylor was finally back in action against Iowa State. At one point in time, Baylor was down by 15. Being 3 weeks off, you're down by 15 to an Iowa State team is 2-16 at home. And they solidified themselves.
Came out on top. We're still sitting at 18-0. I mean, I don't see a problem there. I mean, every other team other than this game, Baylor has blown every team out. They've won by, I want to say, more than 10 points in almost every other contest they've played.
I'm looking at the schedule right now. They beat Texas Tech by 8, beat Kansas by 8.
And every other game other than that was, and besides Auburn, was a 10 plus.
But if you look at their schedule, though, like the teams they beat by 10 plus besides Oklahoma, who else is there?
You got Illinois, who's still a top 10 team. I mean, again, I still – listen, I don't want to say it, but I think this Baylor team right now, I think it just goes Gonzaga-Baylor. I don't think you can argue against it. These teams are easily the 2 best. They're going to be the 2 teams we see filling up half the Final Four. And
I mean, I have nothing against what you're saying. Like, I'm just wondering, like, how is a team that's not played in 3 weeks not getting jumped in the rankings when a team who's shining week and week and week beats a number 4 team in the country and still number 3? That's all I'm saying.
I mean, to me, it doesn't make sense, but that's the way I see it, is that they just see Baylor being that much better. Which, I mean, again, going off the AP rankings, you go off of their resume. So getting a top 5 win on the road for Michigan, I see what you're saying, should obviously solidify them as a top 2 team. But again, I think that they're just thinking we have Gonzaga and then it's Baylor.
I have nothing. I have no problem at all. Like, I know those teams are that good, but like you have a team who's been. I'm just saying. I'm gonna repeat again. You have a team who's been on for 3 weeks. You have a team who's been playing week after week after week after week. Comes out, goes on the road to a top 4 team in the country, wins, plays well, puts up 92 points, and you're like, nah, that ain't worth it. He's still number 3 in the country. He ain't number 2 yet. Like, I get they're going off how good they are, but you got to show the players respect who are playing week after week.
Well,
but then is AP pool saying like, oh, well, we feel bad for Baylor. They haven't played in 3 weeks. We'll give them a bye a little bit, and they'll still stay at number 2 solidified.
Well, I mean, I would say this. Michigan was off 3 weeks as well, back to back. So, I mean, I could see maybe that's a big reasoning. I mean, they missed Illinois game, Indiana game at Northwestern, and a top 5 battle, top 6 battle, top 10 battle. It should have been was number 6 Illinois at home. So
that Northwestern's a guarantee fucking win because they're trash. Northwestern's trash. They started at 6 and I haven't won a game since.
I mean,
I remember we were talking about Northwestern being a top team in the Big Ten. We both were how the Big Ten was one of the best conferences, and that team has not won a game since we talked about them. They were 6-0, and they have not won a game since. I'm looking back like, damn, I feel kind of bad. Like, they lost 14 straight. We're talking high hopes on them winning 6-0. Like, we jinx them or something. Like, I felt bad.
We might have.
Like, if you look at the standings in the Big Ten, they're 3-13 in the conference. They've lost 13 straight since we talked about them. I'm like, I feel bad. I feel bad for them. because we talked about how they beat Ohio State at home. Like, that's when we started talking about. That's when they got ranked finally. That's when they're number 19. And then they play Michigan and lose by 19. And then they play Illinois, lose by 15. Come back and play Ohio State, lose by 10. Come back and play Iowa and lose by 23. And it just started trickling down like that.
I mean, that's 5 tough back-to-back games, though.
Oh, my bad. And then they play Wisconsin after Iowa.
Yeah, so I mean, you're looking at a tough stretch, and I know they just played Wisconsin Sunday as well. So
Lost
I
by
mean,
17.
they're definitely on a tough stretch, but I think we might have changed them a little bit.
But, like, I'm just looking at Michigan's team. They're a solid team. They need some more respect. Yeah, okay, they're number 3 in the country. What more respect you need? I just think, they were off for 3 weeks of COVID, but I think they have a truly harder schedule than what Baylor has. I'm sorry, I do.
I think
Because, like you just said, Northwestern plays all 5 ranked teams in a row. That's a tough stretch. Ohio State, Michigan, Iowa, Illinois, Wisconsin.
I think yes, but then again, I mean, if you go back to earlier in the year, if it's a big if, but if that Gonzaga Baylor game's played, I think no matter who comes out on top in that game, you're still looking at 1-2 Gonzaga Baylor, and probably being Baylor just because of how they would have played Gonzaga. I mean, I think it would have been a close game, and I think their overall schedule would have been harder if they would have played Gonzaga. But since that game did get postponed, I do think Michigan does have the harder schedule. But I mean, I'm thinking maybe it's because what's Michigan? They're at 16-1, 14 and 18-1, and Baylor's at 18-0. I think they're just basing it off that record. I mean, the in-conference record for Baylor's perfect, and their overall record's perfect. I think that's just for some reason. I think that's what they're going off of. Gonzaga's still perfect, so they keep them 1. Baylor's still perfect, keep them 2.
All right.
And a 1-loss team at 3.
They never reached top 10 in football.
Well, that's completely different.
Nope. I'm throwing
That's
that out
completely
there.
different.
Coastal Carolina was undefeated football. They never reached top 10.
That's completely different.
And they were in some odd conference like Gonzaga is.
Well, I'm not making excuses for Gonzaga. Gonzaga definitely plays in an odd
Oh,
conference.
Gonzaga's number 1. That's guaranteed.
But I was going to say, however, I do think that whether they played in that conference or a different conference, they'd probably run it.
But I was just going off with my same with Coastal Carolina. Football being undefeated, being from a Sun Belt conference, they had teams above them who had 2 losses.
Again, I mean, I can't agree with them. But
And I won't agree. But I do want to see a new champion in college basketball. That was part of my New Year's resolutions for sports. A new one who's never won before the national championship. I'm hoping to see it because Gonzaga and Baylor, WU. I don't care. One of them got to win. Somebody's got to win who's never won before. I don't care who it is. I don't care. And let's talk about how Oklahoma went on the road to Kansas State and lost 62-57 in Kansas State. Kansas State is one of the worst teams in the Big 12. Not the worst, but the second to worst kind of thing, right above Iowa State, who Baylor beat by 5. But Kansas State got a good one at home and held Oklahoma team who can shoot the ball real well at 57 points.
surprising to see this Oklahoma team fall to I guess you could say bottom tier Kansas State team. We'll say that, especially with the wins that they've been able to rack up this year and the performances they've been able to put on. Very shocking to me, but I think this Oklahoma team is going to bounce back. I know they have a game against they still have a game against Texas, which is still a top 15 battle. And then they have 2 more meetings with Oklahoma State. So I think they'll bounce back and still solidify themselves as a top 10 or a tournament team, but that top 10 spot I think is gone for them.
Couldn't agree more to that one. But in that game, Austin Reeves, 25 points. He can't do it all, but he tries his best to get his team to victory. But it didn't really matter in that Kansas State game because they lost. Other games happening tonight that you can watch at 9 o'clock, ESPN2. Number 6, Alabama taking number 20, Arkansas. That's going to be a high-scoring game. Calling it right now, Caleb. And I will not be surprised if Arkansas gets a victory in their home game against Alabama. Looking at games going on tomorrow night, Baylor game, postponed, canceled. It's not happening in Baylor, but that game will be rescheduled next week. We'll talk about that here later on. Another good game to look forward to tomorrow night. Number 9, Iowa traveling to number 3, Michigan. Now, Caleb, I'm going to ask you this right now. Be honest with me. If Michigan beats number 9, Iowa, and goes and wins the rest of the games throughout the weekend, will they pass Baylor in the rankings for Monday?
Well, I think that depends. Well, Baylor, I know you said Baylor and WVU are canceled, so I think if the rest of their games are canceled, I think so. Like if they take a game or two off, I'm not sure what their upcoming schedule is, but
they play Kansas Saturday.
So I would say no if Baylor plays Kansas and beats them. But then again, I mean, Michigan's still top 3 team whether they win this game because I think Iowa's obviously built themselves a resume. Luka Garza's built himself a resume. Beating the National Player of the Year, I think, is going to be big props for this Michigan team. I just don't see where they jump this Baylor team if Baylor beats Kansas.
I agree to that. But say Baylor beats them by 3.
If it's close and Michigan blows out Iowa and blows out the rest of their games, I think probably Michigan goes too.
That's all to ask. Another good game Thursday I look forward to is in the Mountain West Conference. Number 22, San Diego State is playing Boise State. This is a good one because both teams have 4 losses. Boise State has 18 wins. San Diego State has 17 wins. It's a ranked versus unranked game. We really don't talk about that much, but it's a game to look forward to late at night, 9 o'clock tomorrow night. So watch that one. I'm going to go and say that. All right. Only game Friday is Lower Chicago taking on number 21, Lower Chicago taking on unranked Southern Illinois. Not a really good game to talk about. I think Lower Chicago can beat them by 15 plus. Crazy fact here. I bet on both teams. Remember how I told you I pick 3 teams every year? I said Drake and Lower Chicago. My third one's Southern Illinois. So I'm going to pick that one. Looking at Saturday, we have a couple good games on the match on the weekday, you could say. Number 14, Texas taking on number 18, Texas Tech. Number 25, Tennessee taking on Auburn at Auburn. That would be a good game to watch because it's see if Tennessee can bounce back from the last week and lost to Kentucky and went on the road. Number 5, Illinois traveling to number 23, Wisconsin. And I think a good game here also, 2 of them, ranked versus unranked. Oklahoma State taking on Oklahoma, and then Florida State taking on UNC. I might be wrong there, but I think Kevin, I can agree that those 2 games are good games, ranked versus unranked. That Saturday. The best game of the day, we already talked about it, Baylor and Kansas. Number 2, Baylor taking number 17, Kansas in the fog. Can Kansas hold their home court this Saturday?
I don't know. I mean, again, I feel like I've talked about and hyped up the Baylor a lot, so this is going to be the last thing I say. Again, this Baylor team they're deadly. They've solidified themselves as just this up there with Gonzaga as one of the best teams. I think this is going to be a true test. Again, they haven't played in a while. Not being able to play against WVU, that's I think really hurts them. But I think that they come out of the fall with a decent win. I want to say probably by 10 or more.
All right, you heard Caleb's thoughts first. And by the way, next week episode, that's when we start breaking down the conference tournaments. We'll give each prediction for that one. I'll discuss all that at the end of the episode, what we're doing next week, because the bracket's not set. Don't know who's seeded, so that's what's happening next week. Another good game on Saturday I'd like to bring up is in the Big East. Creighton take on Xavier. Xavier sitting at 12-4. Good old Creighton, number 15 in the country, sitting at 13 in the country, 16-5. Xavier's tough at home. And I'm looking for Creighton to be upset, to be honest.
You know, I want to go with Creighton, but Xavier did play Creighton really good when they were at Creighton. So I wouldn't – I'm going to take Creighton, but I wouldn't be surprised if Creighton gets upset also. I mean, like I said, Xavier only lost to them by 5 at Creighton. I think they could come back home, carry this momentum that they've had. They've been a couple of weeks without games, but I think they'll be perfectly fine, fresh legs and fresh arms for shooting the ball.
All right, moving to Sunday, big match in the Big Ten. Number 9, Iowa, playing number 4, Ohio State. 2 back-to-back tough games for Iowa. Do you think they can go 1-1 in those 2 games, or do you think they'll go 0-2?
I'm riding high with my Buckeyes. I'm thinking they're going to go 0-2. This Buckeyes team is really good. I think they're a top 5 team. I think they're going to be a 2 or 3 seed within tournament time, maybe even a 1 seed. But I think, Iowa, we've talked about them a lot this year and how we thought they were going to be really good. I think they've kind of fallen off a little bit. But Ohio State, man, they can just – for them, it's just them being able to shoot the ball so well. I mean, like you said earlier, they just shot 40% from the field, and then from 3 they shot 47. So I'm thinking shooting is going to take a toll. This Iowa team really relies on Luka Garza's post play. So I think perimeter play is going to be key in this one, and Ohio State's going to get a win.
All right, like I said, it's crunch time, last full week of regular season games, and we're finally getting the matchup we've been waiting for since January. Number 2, Baylor, traveling to number 10, Morgantown, West Virginia. Do you think the Mountaineers can win at home? And I'm so blown. I got to work on this game. I'm blown.
I think they will. I'm not sure how many fans they'll allow. I know that they're going to probably exceed the limit a little bit, I would assume, especially being a top 10 battle like this, bringing in an undefeated Baylor team. I think they can. This WVU team, again, they've proven themselves as a top 10 team. I think they could be even a top 7, top 6 team. This would be a game that they can do it, get them in that top 5, top 6 range, and solidify themselves as one of those top teams in the country. Shooting the ball is going to be a key for this WVU team, and I think being at home will also be a key thing for them.
Now, will you be going to the game?
Probably not. I don't even know if I'll be able to get tickets.
No.
But I would try. I'll try.
And then over in the Big Ten, Tuesday night, number 5, Illinois, taking on number 3, Michigan. 2 good games on Tuesday night. It's a big Tuesday blockbuster night.
I don't know who I want to take in this one. Michigan beat them earlier in the year. I'm thinking Illinois kind of wants some revenge, but Michigan at home, they've been really good this year.
Solid.
So I'm gonna stick with Michigan in this one.
All right, moving to Wednesday night, big matchup in the Big East. We got number 13, Creighton, taking on number 8, Villanova. Thoughts on that one?
I'm going with this Villanova team. I mean, they're sitting at 15-3. That too. They're 10-2 within the Big East. They were they number 1 coming into the year? I know they were top 3. Villanova.
Yeah.
I know they were top 3.
Number 1. Gonzaga left number 1.
Okay, but I know Villanova was a top 3 team. I still think, again, same thing with WVU. I still think they could be up there as a top 5 team. I mean, there's honestly a lot of teams that could be in contention for that top 5 spot. And this is one of the teams. I think they still hold on to that. Actually, I think they move on to 16-3 after this one. Not hold on to that 15-3 record.
And then the last game, Thursday, back in the Big 12, number 14, Texas, travels to Oklahoma, hopefully getting that revenge in Norman.
You think they get revenge?
I think they play the way they did, like against WVU, shooting the ball really well, 70% behind the 3-point line. They can come out on top.
I think they'll shoot the ball well. I just think Oklahoma's going to be a little bit better. Again, I think that loss to Kansas State's definitely still stinging a little bit. I think they're going to try to figure things out this next game against Oklahoma State. and then really figure things out against their second game against Oklahoma State. And I think by then they'll have everything figured out for this Texas team, and then go on into Big 12 tournament time.
All right, that wraps up the best games of the week. Look forward to the last week of regular season basketball, pretty much. There's some games happening next Saturday. We'll talk about those next week, and then we'll give you a breakdown of the conference tournament if it's been set by then. But time kicking the pros, NBA basketball. All-star reserves are set. The West, to fulfill the starting roles they got. Obviously, they got starting for the West, Steph Curry, Luka Doncic, LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard, and Nikola Jokic. In the East, they got KD, Bradley Beal, Joel Embiid, Kyrie Irving, and Giannis. But for the reserves in the West, you got Anthony Davis, Paul George, Rudy Gobert, Damian Lillard, Donovan Mitchell, Chris Paul, and Zion Williamson. And the East side for the reserves, you got Jaylen Brown, James Harden, Zach LaVine, Julius Randle, Ben Simmons, Jason Tatum, and Nikola Vucevic. So, out of the lineups, let's go ahead and start with this one real quick. Now, AD's not playing in the All-Star game. They put him out, so Devin Booker took his spot. So, I wouldn't say Devin Booker got snubbed, but he got snubbed.
You know, I was saying this, I was agreeing with Twitter whenever all this came out. But I want to say, I can't remember off the top of my head who it was. An old NBA player tweeted, "Don't say a player got snubbed without saying who they should replace." And I was like, okay.
Thomas.
I think it was too. And I was like, okay, I never really looked at it that way. We always talk about who got snubbed, who didn't, but who should they replace? And I really don't see where Devin Booker could have replaced anyone other than Anthony Davis because he's not playing because he's injured. Just because everyone else has had such dominant years. I mean, maybe you could throw Zion in there, but, I mean, Zion, I think he's just destined to be a future face of the NBA. So, I mean, just look at all the hype that the kid had when he was in high school. I think that's just been bound to happen. So I think it was only a matter of time he got his first NBA All-Star. But, I mean, I was also thinking about this, like, is there any way you can add more players to the All-Star? Because the NBA is so big now with so many players.
They're surprised they haven't yet.
With so many good players that at some point you feel bad because people are getting left out that shouldn't have been left out, like Devin Booker if Anthony Davis was playing. So I'm 50-50 on it, but, I mean, I think all in all, congrats to Julius Randle. I'm happy he got his first NBA All-Star, which I know we were pretty shaky on why he was at the Knicks getting the amount of money he was getting.
But now we see.
Yeah, I guess we see why now, which I'm pretty sure he'll be getting even more with the NBA All-Star bonus. So
I do think a player got snubbed over in the East. I'm going to go with Domantas Sabonis from the Pacers. He should have got in over Jaylen Brown. Let's be real. It's two young guys on the Celtics, Brown and Tatum. It's between those two who should have been in that thing over Sabonis. The reason why Sabonis is second in the league in double-doubles this season. He has 23. Who's first? Nikola Jokic. And the top 6 players who have the most double-doubles in the league, one player is not in it, and it's Sabonis. I agree, Jaylen Brown's talented. Tatum's talented. Obviously, they're saying Tatum's going to be the face of the league here soon. So you can't go against that one. But let's be real, this Celtics team is not that good. They're kind of downhill this year. And do you think they deserve 2 players in the All-Star game? Hell no.
They're just so inconsistent. I mean, for the amount of star power that they have, so inconsistent. But, I mean, I agree. I think you kind of have to pick between the two. I mean, like you said, both have obviously incredibly talented players, have had great careers and great seasons, but I think you got to pick between the two. Who's made a bigger impact for the Celtics team? like you said, Sabonis has made a big impact for that Pacers team this year.
But it's going to be a good one, I feel like, either way. Honestly, I can't go wrong with it, what's going to happen. I'm just kind of surprised they're still doing an all-star game, to be honest. It's really shocked me, I'd say.
Seeing that LeBron came out and said it, and then having a couple players back him up saying, well, if LeBron doesn't think we should be having an all-star weekend, then I don't think we should have all-star weekend. Definitely, I would agree. Definitely surprised that they're still doing it. I'm surprised they wouldn't give them that weekend to, you know what, you're playing during a pandemic. Go ahead, just go see your family, spend the weekend with your families. Go to Disney for the weekend.
Exactly. Have a little fun, a little free time because they deserve it from having a 72-day break, especially the Lakers and Heat. That's the big thing. They had 72 days off, so they really couldn't do anything fun with their family in their off season. So looking at the best games for the upcoming NBA, the one that catches my eye the most, I'd say, I don't see anything happening for me until Tuesday night, and I kind of want to see what the Clippers and Celtics can go at it. I'm looking at that game. Also, I'm looking at that Suns and Lakers game. Plus, Nuggets and Bucks.
I was going to say, Tuesday night's a pretty packed night. I think it's going to be a good one. Yeah, I think my favorite game might be that Celtics Clippers game. You kind of have the old heads in Kawhi and Paul George going up against the young guys. So yeah, I think that's going to be a good one.
But no, I was just thinking too. Is this Celtics team down this year without Gordon Hayward?
I do think it is part of. I mean, granted, I can't say the lack of experience because Tatum has been in the league, Brown's been in the league. You have everyone who's been in the league, but when you talk about been there, done that, you think of players like LeBron, you think of players like KD, Kyrie, think of veteran players, Gordon Hayward, Chris Paul. So I think that veteranship within the locker room is definitely lacking some. So I think there's going to be maybe some things that are sliding by, like maybe a little bit of laziness or, I mean, just small things that would slide by that usually wouldn't slide by if there's a veteran in the locker room saying,
you look at Gordon Hayward,
don't do this shit.
He's almost having 22 points a game for the Hornets right now.
Well, yeah, I mean, I wasn't even talking about the on-the-court aspect, too, of his points and just –
But no, the leadership role, I get what you're saying. The leadership role is missing.
Mm-hmm. I think that's the big part.
And also, say a little stat, little Hornet rain right here. If the Hornets keep playing like they're playing, they can win the division title. Like in the division, it's kind of like it ain't that good, honestly. They got them, Miami. Miami's not playing that well this year. The Hawks, Orlando, and Washington. So,
yeah, I think they could. I mean, honestly, I think their only real competition would be the Heat because I do think, like I said, I mean, like we said with the All-Star break, they had, 70-some days of break for the Heat. So I think they're kind of – everyone's still trying to get back into the flow of playing again. I think the Heat are going to – I think I've said it before, after All-Star break, probably get back into momentum and really get things going again. But if you're the Hornets, you got to love what's been brewing down there in Charlotte.
they're loving LaMelo Ball. They're loving him.
I'm loving having Gordon Hayward on that team. That veteranship for him is, I think, perfect. Him and Bridges.
Exactly. And then look at another good game happen on Wednesday night. The Jazz take on the 76ers again. The last time they played, the 76ers lost to the Jazz 134 to 123. So this is going to be another good one. The two top teams in the league, you can say.
And you got two top centers battling now, too.
Mm-hmm. No. Oh, yeah, Rudy Gobert. You can call him a top center if you want.
Defensive center. I would say defensive center. But, yeah, I think this is going to be a good game. Both teams are good for their circumstances they're playing in. Jazz are good on the road. They're 11-4 on the road. And, I mean, the 76ers are sitting at 13-2 at home. So I'm kind of leaning towards the 76ers in this one. I think they're ready for some redemption against the Jazz. And I'm big on Jerome Bead. He's been pretty fire this year. I'm loving
He
watching him
really
play.
has. He's been playing really good this year, putting his points up, and he's in the running for MVP.
Averaging almost 12 points and almost 30 points, or sorry, almost 30 points and 12 rebounds.
So, Caleb, we got to end it off right. Top 5. That includes the basketball best games week all-star breakdown when we talk about the snubs and the roster itself. Now it's time to get into the fun part. Our top 5 best college football running backs of all time. So we took all running backs in college football history from present to past. So, Caleb, give me your number 5.
My number 5 has to be Jim Brown from 1954 to 1956 from Syracuse. He was 6'2", 212 pounds, overpowered teams, rushing for over 197 yards, 162, 155, 154, just some of his totals. Something that can really give you guys an idea of his athleticism. He earned 10 letters across 4 sports while he was at Syracuse, playing track, basketball, lacrosse, and obviously football. He was just a sensational blend of strength and speed.
My number 5 is Barry Sanders at Oklahoma State. Played in 86 through 88. This is why he's number 5, Kill. You're probably like, oh, he should be top 4, at least top 3. I'm going to go with.
I haven't met 2, but
Okay. He's number 5 on my list because he had one good year. I mean, the good year, he had 2,600 yards. That's a hell of a year. I'm not going to lie. Won the 1980 Heisman. But his career, he had 523 carries and 3,500 yards. So I'm looking at that like, all right, you played well one season, but the 2 seasons before, you had a total of 900 yards. Hell of an athlete, hell of a player. Had a bad NFL career because he got drafted to a bad team. Let's go with that. Kind of ruined his career. But I have a number 5, mainly because he had one solid year. The other guys on my list, you'll see, had produced over time, kept going up.
My number 4 is a guy named Dak Walker. He played one season in 1945 as a freshman and then went to the Army, served a small stint. That one season, though, he was earned all Southwest Conference honors, and he only played 5 games. He returned to SMU in 1947. From there, he won the Maxwell Award. Then in 1948, he won the Heisman. For his career, he played 35 games, was credited with 288 points scored, 2,076 rushing yards, 454 receiving yards, and 750 yards on 50 punt returns. Nice little fact is, according to Texas Lure, the reason there was a second deck added to the Cotton Bowl was to watch Dak Walker play. That is a reason why the best running back award is named after him in his honors.
All right, my number 4 is Ricky Williams, running back out of Texas, played through 96 through 98. He won the Heisman in 1998, came to 5th in 97, and listen to this. His career, over 1,011 carries, 6,279 yards, 72 TDs. When he left Texas, he held 46 school records and 21 NCAA records in college football.
My number 3 is Archie Griffin from 1972 to 75, played at Ohio State. As a freshman, he came off the bench thanks to an urging backfield coach, Rudy Hubbard. For his first game, he rushed for 239 yards against North Carolina. That's still top 10 in OSU history per game. He went on to become the only player to win the Heisman twice in 1974 and 75. He topped 100 yards in 31 straight games, which is an NCAA record. He had 34 total games of 100+. And he's also the only running back to lead the Big Ten 3 straight years in rushing. And he was also a consistent All-American first team those 3 years.
My number 3 is Charles White at USC, played 1975 to 1979. Won the 1979 Heisman, 4th in 78, and in his senior year, 332 carries, 2,050 yards, 19 TDs. He left USC with 1,147 carries, 6,245 yards, and 49 TDs, and he helped USC be 12-0 in 1979, and he's known for that performance in that game to win 13-12.
My number 2, like I said earlier, is Barry Sanders. Reason I put him this high is just because he was just that dominant. Like you said, he only played really 1 year, but before he was a starter, he backed up an All-American in Thurman Thomas. So, I mean, it's kind of understood why he really only started 1 year. But within that year, I mean, he broke 34 NCAA records. In his final game, he ran for 220 yards and 5 touchdowns. And that was before they even won the game. And he got pulled because they were winning so bad in 1988.
My number 2 guy is a guy who's here recently, played recently. He's in the league right now. Jonathan Taylor out of Wisconsin. From 2017, 2019, he had 2,000 yards rushing, 2 out of the 3 seasons he played, a total of 6,174 yards, and 55 TDs. And the reason why he's this high, because he was that damn dominant. And he would have had 2,000 yards his freshman year. Yeah, freshman year. But he was 23 yards shy, had ended his freshman year with 1,977 yards. Hell of a player. He had a great rookie year. And I'm just looking at the thing like, damn, that motherfucker was good. He was solid.
Yeah, and he's going to have a hell of a NFL career too.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
My number 1 guy is Herschel Walker from 1980 to 1982. Played at Georgia. His freshman year, he led Georgia to the national championship and finished 3rd in Heisman voting. He ran for 1,616 yards his freshman year, which is was an NCAA freshman record that started until 1996. He went on to finish 2nd in Heisman voting in 1981. I don't understand how he finished 2nd because he ran for 1,891 yards. Finally won the award in 1982. He's the only player to finish top 3 in all 3 college seasons in Heisman voting. He was also named 3-time SEC Player of the Year and a consensus All-American. Since bowl games don't count, he was credited with 33 games, 5,259 yards, and 55 touchdowns.
Well, there's my number 1. Caleb said it all. I had everything written down. He just went ahead and said every little bit of thing I was going to say. But Herschel Walker, the best running back in college football history, top 3 in Heisman all 3 years. He literally went 3, 2, 1, finally won. Caleb said his stats. There's no point in me repeating it.
I thought you might have switched it up.
Oh, I
maybe you would have went with someone else.
Nah, I mean, I could have mentioned Bo Jackson or something like that. Nah, I was thinking with the gun, the actual true guy who was dominant in college football, Herschel Walker.
To me, the fact that he led, I mean, Georgia has always really been a good football program, but leading them and having 1,600 rushing yards your freshman year is insane. I mean, that's almost unheard of. I mean,
exactly
like Jonathan Taylor, but other than that, almost unheard of.
But, yeah, I can't say much about number 1, and Caleb said it all. Not much more to say. Dominant player.
Yeah, that's pretty much all you can say about him.
Exactly. So that concludes episode 108. Come back next week. We'll break down more college basketball, get the recap of the week, talk about the conference tournaments that will be starting that upcoming week after that Monday episode. You get what I'm saying, the date-wise. And then we'll break down the NBA All-Star Game. We're looking forward to how they're running it, the format they're doing, just like we did last year, same around time. And then we're going to talk about a little bit of NFL. And Kayla and I were talking about it. We're going to give you our top 3, what we're looking forward to the most NFL season, like comebacks, players on new teams, that kind of thing. Who like looking to see shine. And in that ordinary kind of category, will be in the top 3 we'll look forward to see. And then we'll do another top 5 best, but I'm not for sure what we're going to talk about yet. But then again, I might just stick with the NFL one and do a top 5 of that one. You want to do that one, Caleb?
We can do that.
So, yeah, we're not doing a top 5 best college football like that. We're going to do a top 5 what we're looking forward to the most in the NFL season 2021-2022. That's been very interesting to see because a lot of things can happen still to come. But what happened so far in the off season, the season before, what we're looking to hope for, we're looking to see who shines, that kind of thing. It'd be very interesting to see what Caleb thinks, what I think.
Agreed.
So with that being said, Caleb, say your peace, love, and goodbyes.
Like Mackie said, thank you guys for coming and joining us once again for episode 108. We will see you guys next week for episode 109. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know your top 5 college running backs of all time. You guys might have someone different as your number 1, or might have someone different somewhere throughout the list. Let us know, and we will see you guys next week.
Like Caleb said, like, comment, subscribe, share, do anything you got to do possible. Get the Nation Wants Sports Talk podcast out there. No matter how you do it, just do it. You want to belittle us, talk bad about us, you're still talking about us, give me that free publicity. I love it. Don't matter how you do it, just do it. Anyways, come back next week. Give me another fun episode. All we do is have fun, a good time. You see us laughing, smiling the whole time because we have fun doing this. It's all opinion-based. Nothing really much to say about that. We don't know. We're not experts. We're just young guys having fun. We don't know anything. But come back next week for another good episode. Episode 109 will be here. We'll be doing this again next Friday. I'm Mac, and I'm peace out for the week. Peace.
Cause lately I ain't been the same. Feel like I'm stuck in a maze, and I'm just trying to get out. I'm trying to better these things, but you just all on my thoughts, and I just can't separate. It's the life of an angel with the mind of a saint.